Okay, let's talk persuasive speeches. Let's talk persuasive speech outlines in particular. Before I say anything else, let me say this. If you have not read chapter 16 in your textbook, you need to stop and go back and read that because that is going to be very helpful in explaining to you how to put together a persuasive speech and a persuasive speech outline to get that speech from. Okay. First and foremost, persuasion, it relies on information. That's the reason we do the informative speech first, is so that you know how to gather the information. And you're going to be doing the same sort of thing in your persuasive speech. But in persuasion, you're also asking your audience to change. You're asking them to change their mind. You're asking them to change their way of thinking. You're asking them to change their habits, things of that sort. And sometimes that can be really easy. I mean, if somebody likes you a lot, maybe they'll just do it. But most of the time, people want reasons for that. So you're going to have to build into your persuasive message those reasons. Okay. Um, in chapter 16, also, you will be introduced to something called Monroe's motivated sequence. And Monroe's motivated sequence is an excellent way to put together your informative speech. Page 309 in your book has an example of the kind of outline you should use for this speech. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started and we'll see where we go from there. Okay. All right. So the same thing as the informative speech. The purpose of this outline is to help you get through writing the speech and help you put it together. It's also to guide any kind of reader through the speech, showing them what you're going to talk about, why you're going to do that, what kind of examples you're going to use, that sort of thing. And just like the informative speech, it also has to include all the elements that are necessary for the speech. But the difference is that in the speech, you are going to be asking for change. If I start out by saying you should always buy product A, and you say, huh? Why? I don't like product A. Um, why should I change? I like product B just fine. What would I have to do to convince you to buy product A? Well, I'd have to give you some good reasons, wouldn't I? And I'd have to give you kind of a really strong persuasive message, right? Okay. Let's say that I've got, that I'm kind of pulling on you to try product A, but you've got what we call brand loyalty. You really like product B because it's a member of the a certain type of car maker or a certain type of computer or something like that. What would I have to do to push my persuasion for product A over product B? Well, there are several ways that you can organize a speech that will help you put together a successful persuasive message. One of these is called statement of reasons. Statement of reasons is that you've got a list of reasons why someone should change, okay? And you're going to explain each of those reasons and cite the sources for those facts. Um, and that's going to help put together your persuasive message. You have this list of reasons, I've got a list of 47 reasons why you should do this. No, you don't need that many. You need probably 5 or 6. But a statement of reasons, each one you take one by one and you develop it and you tell people why changing this is a good idea. And then you wind things up at the end by asking them to make that change. You could use comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is the speech where you take two things that are similar, not apples and oranges, but two apples, two different kinds of apples, and you compare and contrast them. This one is sweeter. This one is redder. This one is funny looking. This one is normal looking. Those kinds of things. You take the light things that are similar and the things that are different, and you build your persuasion around that. These are similar to regular red apples like you're used to seeing, but they're much, much better for you because they have more nutritional value. They have a better taste, those kinds of things. So you're using comparative advantage, moving from one thing to another by showing how those things compare to each other. Okay. Maybe criteria satisfaction might be a good way for you to do your persuasive speech. In talking about climate control or climate change, um, a lot of criteria, a lot of things go into. You can't put your finger on one thing that caused uh, global warming, but you can explain certain things that contributed to global warming. So you've got criteria that you can pull together that can show the audience why your persuasive message should work and why your persuasive message is valid. Motivated sequence. This is the kind of speech that you make when you know the audience is already right there in the palm of your hand. They agree with you and they are 100% behind you. But you've got to make sure that they take that a step further and they move on it. So motivated sequence refers to the push to a call to action. Now, you'll find in the Monroe's motivated sequence, the last step is a call to action. This means get off the couch and go do something. Okay. Motivated sequence is designed to get you off the couch and make you go and take these actions. Put those cigarettes in the trash can, put those ashtrays in the trash can. Don't smoke anymore. Well, sometimes it's easier said than done. So, maybe we need some patches or something like that to go with us. We're giving you everything we possibly can to motivate you to do that. And all you have to do is take that first step and say, okay. Okay. So that's what you're looking for. The call to action is a true call, and you're trying to motivate that audience to take that step. And the final one is called problem solution. And that's probably the most common one that everybody sees. Here's my problem. Here's my solution. I've got dandruff. I'm going to use a dandruff shampoo. Okay. That all seems sort of simple, but again, in persuasion, you want to state the problem and then you want to give the audience the solution that you think is the best one for that problem. And then you want to push them to move in that direction. Now, all of these persuasive efforts have one thing in common, and that one thing is they all rely on proof. You cannot simply say, because I said so. You have to have facts that will back up what you're saying. So you are going to have at least 4 outside sourcing situations in this speech, because you're going to have to use at least 4 outside sources for proving your point of view on this persuasive effort. Okay. And that's where the proof comes from those outside sources. It doesn't come because I tell you so. It comes because I am showing you so. Now let's look at Monroe's motivated sequence and see how this works to persuade an audience. Remember that what you're asking them to do is to change something, okay? And your job is to change, to convince the audience that change is necessary. It's not something that we can, put up with much longer. It's something that we need to do something about. Okay, so you prove to them by using those outside sources that the change is essential and necessary. And that's the way that everything comes together, is through the use of those outside sources. Now, in Monroe's motivated sequence, you have 5 steps. Okay, the first thing that you do is you call attention to the topic. You tell the audience, today I'm going to be talking about why you should quit smoking. Um, this is a health risk for a lot of people still, and a lot of people have quit, but not everyone. So today I'm here to help those of you who are still hamstrung by the smoking habit get a head start on quitting. Okay, so I'm telling you from the very start, here's what I want to call attention to in this speech. Okay, then I move into the need. What's the need for this change? Okay, now in a case of something like smoking, you might can see it without me, pointing it out to you too well. But what you're trying to do is move your audience towards that change. Okay, tell them why they need to listen to this speech. You need to listen to this speech because by the time I get through, you're not going to want to smoke anymore. Okay. And you need to support any of the statements that go through that go through this process to be sure that you are putting them together for the proper reason. Okay. Okay. A lot of times people want something. They don't want to do something if they're not going to get rewarded, or they don't want to do something if they're not going to get anything out of it. So you've got the need, you've got the attention. Now let's tell them, what does this mean to me? What is it? What would happen if I quit smoking? Okay. So you detail and use your outside sources to prove what a great idea it is to quit smoking, and that they should come to your side of the fence because blah, blah, blah. So you're showing them what's in it for me. Okay. And by showing them what's in it for me, you're also making it so that the audience understands where this is going, and there's not any gray areas there. Then we're going to move into a visualization uh, sort of step here. Instead of just giving people a verbal description of what the satisfaction is, let's help them see themselves as non-smokers. You know what happens when you don't smoke? You don't have to go outside after every meal. You don't have to stand in the wind and the rain. You don't smell bad. Your clothes don't smell like smoke. You know, again, we're all the way through this. We're using those outside sources to help us develop our persuasive message. So we've come from go back one. We've come from the come from the attention position. That's where we get started. Tell them the need. Move to this what's in it for me, the satisfaction sort of feeling, and then we're going to visualize ourselves as non-smokers, or as recyclers, or as people who donate blood, or something along those lines. And now it's time to take action. Remember, I talked about the call to action. Well, that's the fifth step in Monroe's motivated sequence. This is where you actually say to the audience, okay, I've just spent the last 6 minutes talking to you about this, and this. Now it's time to do something. So come on. It's time for you to throw those cigarettes away. It's time for you to call your congressman. It's time for you to start recycling on your own, and then move to get the city involved, those kinds of things. What are the steps? What are the benefits? And conclude it, and you can conclude it by saying, congratulations, you are heading in a good direction, and you're going to be happy you did this. Okay. In your textbook on page 309, there is a copy of an outline. Do not use the informative speech outline template, because it won't work for persuasion. The one on page 309, I think it's page 305 if you have one of those loose leaf books, is where you want to be. Okay. And it shows you how to label things according to Monroe's motivated sequence, and how to make sure that you are moving from one point to another to a third, and so on. Okay, remember that you need a title for everything that you do. So we need to add a title, and that's not shown on page 309. You also are going to need transitions because you don't want to just jump from one thing to another. You want to smoothly move from this point to this point to this point. Okay, I gotcha, sort of thing. You are required in this speech to have visual aids, so you'll want to list those. And you should have more than one visual aid. You can't just show, you know, look at this. Okay, you've got a visual aid now. You've got to use something that's going to be useful to your speech. And then you again need to compose your bibliography using APA style. Okay, so if you have any questions about any of this, I know that persuasive speaking for some people is a little bit difficult. So let's talk about it and see what we can do to help you get there. Okay, all right. Thanks.